Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Thursday, June 6th, 2019. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. You'll see here that prices bounced right back to the top of the range here of this kind of near-term little channel here. We talked about the fact that we could see rejection at the bottom of the previous month's range, which could turn us back into the monthly pivot range, and we are at that zone right now. Is the market going to find weakness here and rotate back down to retest lows and perhaps surpass those lows for another new low within the current downtrending market? Or will price be able to advance even higher? Right now, that 28.55 is going to be very, very important. That's the midpoint of the previous month's range. With the current strength of the market here, we could continue to see further strength, and above 28.55 would open up at least a return back toward 2900 for a key test. 2900 is where price tried to hold here for another rotation and failed. The retest also failed, and then that led to the current selling pressure. So right now, that's going to be the important level to watch, 28.55, for signs of additional strength overall. Right now, we are in a very clear bouncing phase here off of the previous lows. We got to see if the market starts to find rejection up here. At the moment, the ES has formed a very narrow range on the intraday time frame. So watch the 28.32s for early signs of selling pressure this morning. Alright, let's take a look here at the NQ. You'll see here the NQ looks very similar. This one drove downward in the first trading day of the month and then had a major bounce over the last couple of days. We are now back into the pivot range for the first time for the NQ, testing the pivot range from below, lower value relationship. And again, that 7,300 is very, very important. It's the bottom of the key range. It's where price saw selling pressure and we dropped into the 50% key level. Now we're back to test that from below. So 7,300 is going to be very important here. If prices are rejected above 7,300, that could open up more weakness, and we could at least return to retest these lows, if not surpass them. Acceptance back above 7,300 could open up more strength back towards 76.30. So that 7,300 is going to be very, very important. Very similar to the ES, the NQ has formed a very narrow consolidation at the highs of today's pre-market range. So any break back below 72.40 could open up near-term selling pressure on an intraday basis. Let's take a look at crude oil. You'll see here with crude oil, we've had quite a bit of selling pressure, and recently had the inside day, and then we had crude oil inventories come out that slammed price down pretty good into as low as 50.6. We are now seeing another inside day, and this market has been extremely bearish here. So this thing is not really seeing much strength at all right now. We have a little bit more to go before we reach our lower key level. That's the 49.17. That's value. As I mentioned before, the rejection we saw off 66s and the selling pressure that we've seen since suggests that we are coming back to value. So even if we do bounce, even in a near-term basis, that could offer another selling opportunity for a continuation toward 49. So 49 continues to be the target to strive for on a swing basis. Right now, again, we have a very near-term compression phase here. 39% of ADR, 98-cent range for the day. Perhaps we see some sort of expansion out of that range. So keep an eye on 52.5. Above 52.5 would open up a return back toward 53.5, maybe even 54s. Failure to get above 52.5 today could open up more selling pressure ahead. So 52.5 is going to be the key pivot to watch on an intraday basis today. Lastly, let's take a look here at gold. All right, here's a look at gold. Well, that's copper. There's gold. This one had a major rejection off the highs here previously. I mentioned before that we were likely headed to 1350. That was a target we talked about back here when we had the outside day up. I mentioned if we get above 1305s, we could be opening up a continuation at 1350. We hit 1348.90 yesterday. Didn't quite get the top. The top is actually 1349.80. It was within 9 ticks of that level and then saw major rejection back down. That's quite a rejection tail at the upper end of that range. However, if you look at how today's behaving according to yesterday's midpoint, it is through that midpoint and making it support on an intraday basis, which is basically 1339. That's very bullish and suggests that we could see further strength through the tail and into 1350 proper. One last thing here again, even despite the strength here though, we are coming into a spot up here where anything between 1360 and 1375 has been offered over the last 5 years. So even if we do push a little bit higher here in the near term, that may be the end of the road here, unless it's going to find strength above 1375. Again, that would be the first time it would do so in the last 5 years. Otherwise, it has been offered every time since. So we're getting close to taking out these highs, but we're also getting close to seeing perhaps another rejection at those highs. So right now, further strength is likely to be seen on an intraday basis as long as 1339 holds. Failure to hold 1339 would suggest a return back down toward 1330, perhaps even lower. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this develops heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.